Someone holds you close in their heart because you made love feel possible again. Maybe you never realized the weight of what you gave them. Maybe you didn't even know you were doing something extraordinary. But sometimes the most powerful things we give aren't wrapped in grand gestures, they live in the small, steady ways we show someone that they matter, that they are safe, that they can be seen without fear. You didn't just walk into their life, you softened it. Before you came along, they didn't fully believe in love the way movies and poems made it sound. They had learned to survive instead of trust, to hope quietly instead of boldly. They kept their heart like a fragile thing that needed to be protected from disappointment, from loss, from the kind of hurt that teaches a person to stop expecting anything at all. But then you arrived, not as a miracle, not as a rescue, just as a real, human presence whose sincerity reshaped what their heart thought it knew. You made love feel possible again, not because you were perfect but because you were genuine. You treated them with a softness they thought they didn't deserve. You listened in ways that made them feel understood. You spoke in ways that made them feel valued. And in moments when the world felt heavy on their shoulders, your presence was the kind of quiet peace they didn't know they were missing. You didn't overwhelm them with promises, you simply showed up. And that was enough to start healing the parts of them that had forgotten what tenderness felt like. People don't forget the ones who revive something inside them. When someone has been tired for too long, when they've been disappointed or abandoned or misunderstood, a gentle love becomes unforgettable. You were that love, even if you didn't intend to be. You were the patient breath in the middle of their chaos. You were the warm reassurance after years of cold emotional winters. You saw them in a light they had stopped seeing themselves in. And because of that, they hold you close, not out of attachment, not out of desperation, but out of gratitude. A deep, quiet gratitude that sits in the chest and whispers, "This person changed something in me." Maybe you showed them what it felt like to be chosen in small, everyday ways. Maybe you offered kindness without expecting anything in return. Maybe you laughed with them when they couldn't find a reason to laugh on their own. Or maybe you became the first person who didn't ask them to shrink to be loved. Whatever you gave them, it wasn't temporary, not because the relationship has to last forever, but because the impact did. Some people stay in your heart even if life pulls them in different directions, because what they gave you was not a moment, it was a shift in the way you understand love itself. You taught them that affection doesn't have to hurt. That love doesn't have to be complicated to be real. That connection can be both calm and electrifying at the same time. You made them believe that loyalty is still possible, that sincerity hasn't gone extinct, and that some people are capable of offering care without conditions. Maybe you didn't even think you were doing anything special. But to them, you were the kind of special that doesn't shout, it whispers. And sometimes whispers last longer than echoes. They hold you close because you awaken feelings they once buried. You touched parts of their heart they had closed off. You reminded them that vulnerability isn't a weakness, that affection isn't a trap, and that opening up doesn't automatically lead to pain. And even if they didn't tell you directly, their heart remembers every moment you made them feel seen. It remembers how your presence softened the jagged edges of their worry. It remembers how your words calmed storms they never talked about out loud. It remembers how your kindness touched the very places they thought no one would ever reach. That kind of memory doesn't fade. It becomes part of them. You may not realize it, but love, real love, often begins with safety. When someone feels safe with you, when they feel accepted without judgment, when they feel understood without explanation, something opens inside them. Something loosens. Something lets go. You made them feel that safety in a world where many people feel like they must hide pieces of themselves just to be tolerated. With you, they didn't have to hide. They didn't have to pretend. They didn't have to guard every emotion behind a wall of caution. You let them breathe freely, maybe for the first time in a long time, and because of that, they hold you close. They don't forget the one who gave them back their capacity to hope. You gave them love in a way that didn't demand anything. You gave them room to grow, room to feel, room to rediscover all the parts of themselves they had dimmed for the world. You believed in them, not with loud declarations, but with consistent presence. You made them feel worth choosing. You made them feel like their thoughts mattered. You showed them that their heart wasn't too complicated, too fragile, or too broken to be held by someone who truly cared. That's why you stay with them, in the quiet spaces of their memory. They think of you not because they are stuck, but because they are grateful. You became a reminder that love doesn't always disappoint. You became proof that connection can be meaningful even if it doesn't last forever in the physical form. You became evidence that their heart was still capable of feeling deeply, of trusting gently, of loving sincerely. Someone holds you close because your love, or your kindness, or your presence, reached them at a time when they needed it the most. Maybe they didn't say it. Maybe life pulled both of you in different directions. Maybe circumstances changed. But the emotional truth remains untouched. You gave them something real. Something honest. Something that changed them in ways they'll carry quietly for the rest of their life. They hold you close because your love didn't just fill a moment, it healed one. Maybe you were the one who stayed up just a little longer to listen. Maybe you were the one who paid attention to details no one else noticed. Maybe you were the one who made them feel like their emotions weren't too heavy to share. Maybe you were the one who reminded them that gentleness is not weakness. Or maybe you were the one who showed them that they deserve a love that doesn't transform them into someone unrecognizable. Yes, they still hold you in their heart. Not out of habit, but because your presence left a mark deeper than time can wash away. Some people leave scars. You left comfort. Some people leave doubt. You left clarity. Some people leave wounds. You left warmth. And that warmth became something they carried into their future, something they used to navigate new relationships, new hopes, new beginnings. Even if the two of you never speak again, even if life has rerouted both of your paths, the version of them that continues forward is different because of you. You restored their faith in emotions they thought they had outgrown. You proved that kindness still exists. You showed them that the right connection doesn't overwhelm, it feels like coming home. They hold you close because you didn't just impact their heart, you awakened it. They remember the way you made them feel safe enough to be vulnerable. They remember the softness in your words. They remember how your affection felt like sunlight on closed windows. You didn't pry their heart open, you invited it. You didn't force trust, you earned it. And in a world where many people rush, expect, demand, and take, you simply gave. You gave without calculation. You gave without manipulation. You gave without expecting applause, and people don't forget hearts like yours. Someone holds you close because you wrote a chapter in their life that changed the entire story. Not by rewriting their past, but by giving them a reason to imagine a better future. You made them believe that love was not something to fear but something to welcome. You showed them that a gentle touch can repair what harsh words once damaged. You made them realize that being loved doesn't require suffering first. And the way you loved, quietly, sincerely, without theatrics, became the standard they now recognize as real. You didn't just make them feel loved. You made love feel possible again. That is why you live in their heart with a softness that time will not erase. Some people stay because of promises. Some stay because of vows. But some stay because of impact, and you, without trying, became that impact. The type that lingers. The type that teaches. The type that heals. The type that lives in the background of someone's gratitude forever. You may not realize it, but someone out there thanks life for the moment you crossed their path. They carry your memory the way one carries a warm scarf on a cold morning, not because they cannot live without it, but because it makes the world feel a little gentler. You represent a turning point in their emotional journey, a reminder that connection can be nurturing, that love can be soft, that people can be kind without hidden motives. They hold you close because you were a home they didn't know they needed. And homes like that, they are never forgotten. And the truth is, love becomes unforgettable when it arrives in a moment of quiet need. When someone has grown used to carrying their battles alone, even the smallest gesture of genuine care feels monumental. That's what you were to them, a moment of unexpected relief, a presence that eased burdens they didn't know they had been holding for years. You came into their life not to fix them, not to save them, but simply to understand them. And sometimes understanding is the most healing thing a heart can receive. You taught them that they weren't too complicated for love. You showed them that their stories, their fears, their imperfections, all deserve to be held with tenderness. You didn't run when things got heavy. You didn't shrink when they opened up. You didn't judge the pieces of them they had learned to hide from everyone else. Instead, you honored them. And that simple act of honoring their truth changed the way they saw themselves. Someone holds you close because you made them feel human again in the most beautiful way. You made them feel deserving of affection, not because of what they could offer, but simply because they existed. You gave them a love that didn't demand they perform strength or hide weakness. You gave them space to breathe, to feel, to unfold. And it's rare to find someone who treats your heart with such care that it begins to trust again. You became the gentle reminder that love isn't supposed to feel like a battlefield. It isn't supposed to be earned through suffering. It isn't meant to be painful proof of devotion. With you, love felt like ease, like softness, like finally exhaling after holding tension for too long. You didn't overwhelm them with intensity, you offered consistency. You didn't drown them with promises, you gave presence. And in a world full of noise, your calm sincerity became unforgettable. Maybe the world told them they needed to be guarded. Maybe past heartbreaks convinced them that vulnerability was dangerous. Maybe life taught them to expect disappointment before joy. But then you walked in, not dramatically, not forcefully, but with the quiet confidence of someone whose intentions are pure. You didn't demand trust, you created a space where trust naturally grew. And that kind of love is rare. That kind of love is precious. That kind of love stays. They hold you close because you gave them something they didn't know they were missing, the freedom to feel without fear. You didn't punish their honesty. You didn't run from their depth. You didn't turn away from their shadows. Instead, you hugged their darkness with understanding and celebrated their light with joy. To be loved like that, even briefly, is enough to shift a heart forever. You left a mark not through loud declarations, but through quiet consistency. You made them feel seen in ways they had long forgotten were possible. You made them feel important at a time when they were questioning their worth. You reminded them that their heart was still capable of opening up, even after it had convinced itself to stay closed. With you, love wasn't a fragile glass waiting to shatter, it was a garden slowly returning to life. This is why they hold you close. This is why your memory lives softly inside them. You represent hope. You represent renewal. You represent the moment they realized their heart could still feel something warm and gentle, something real and comforting. You gave them the courage to let love back in, even if it was just a little at first. And courage like that is born only from the presence of someone who loves without trying to control, without trying to mold, without trying to take more than they give. You made them believe that genuine connection still exists. In a world where so many relationships are rushed, shallow, or transactional, yours felt like a breath of fresh air. You didn't force anything. You let everything unfold naturally, and that is what made it powerful. You showed them that love doesn't have to be dramatic to be meaningful. Sometimes the quietest bonds are the ones that last the longest in memory. You didn't promise forever. You didn't need to. What you gave them was something more honest, something that didn't require conditions or labels or expectations. You gave them presence. You gave them comfort. You gave them sincerity. And sincerity leaves a deeper trace than any grand speech ever could. They hold you close because you were a moment of light in a season of uncertainty. You were the calm voice when their thoughts grew loud. You were the steady warmth when their emotions felt cold. You were the safe place when everything else felt overwhelming. And people don't forget the ones who held their heart gently when it was most fragile. You didn't go into their life intending to be unforgettable. You simply were. Because real love, real kindness, doesn't announce itself. It just shows up. It just gives. It just nurtures. You helped their heart rediscover something beautiful, that vulnerability is not a curse, but a doorway. And you guided them through that doorway without ever pushing. So yes, someone holds you close, because you were the person whose actions taught their heart how to trust again. You didn't heal them, you helped them heal themselves. You didn't light their world, you simply reminded them where their own light was hiding. And that is the most powerful gift one person can give another. Your presence became a memory they revisit when they need reassurance. A reminder that kindness still exists. A reminder that love, when offered with sincerity, can soften even the most guarded soul. You changed their story without rewriting it. You added a chapter they will always read with warmth. No matter where life takes them next, someone holds you close because loving you, or being loved by you, felt like rediscovering a part of themselves they thought they had lost forever. And the truth is, even if life has moved both of you forward, even if time has stretched the distance between where you once stood and where you stand now, the imprint you left on their heart hasn't faded. Some people walk into your life and leave with barely a trace, but you weren't one of them. You became a quiet turning point, a gentle shift in direction, a reminder that love can be the softest thing and still change everything. They look back on the moments shared with you not with regret, not with longing, but with a deep sense of gratitude. Gratitude that they got to feel something real, something sincere, something that expanded their understanding of what love could look like. You helped them rebuild trust in the invisible things: kindness, connection, warmth, emotional honesty. You showed them that love doesn't always arrive with chaos, sometimes it arrives with peace. Sometimes it looks like comfort instead of intensity. Sometimes it sounds like steady breathing instead of loud declarations. You made them feel at home in themselves again, and that is a feeling that stays long after the moment has passed. They hold you close because your presence didn't complicate their life, it clarified it. You helped them see that love is not supposed to be a puzzle you solve, it's a space you grow in. You taught them that affection doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. The softest things often echo the longest. And your softness, the way you cared, the way you listened, the way you made them feel understood, became the echo their heart still hears when the world gets too loud. Maybe you don't realize it, but the love you offered was rare. Not the kind that asks for attention, not the kind that demands validation, but the kind that simply exists like warm sunlight breaking through a window. A quiet presence that warms without burning, illuminates without blinding, comforts without overwhelming. This is the kind of love that people carry with them, the kind that becomes a reference point for everything that comes after. You didn't stay in their life to be remembered, you stayed true to yourself, and that sincerity is what rooted you so deeply in their heart. You made them believe that good people still exist. You made them believe that their heart wasn't too broken to feel again. You made them believe that love, when genuine, doesn't have to be complicated or painful, it can simply be two people existing with honesty and care. They hold you close because you changed the way they love. What they learned from you, they now bring into their future. Because of you, they will love more gently. Because of you, they will choose partners who make them feel safe. Because of you, they will remember that kindness is not a weakness. Because of you, they will let themselves open up again. You were not a chapter they want to erase, you were a chapter that helped the rest of the story make sense. They don't hold on to you because they can't move on, they hold on to you because you were a blessing in a world that doesn't always offer them. Some people are not meant to stay forever in person, but they stay forever in the way they shaped our hearts. You are one of those people for them. You will forever be a reminder that love can arrive gently and still be unforgettable. And the most beautiful thing is this: you didn't have to try to be this person. You didn't force your way into their heart. You didn't manipulate their emotions. You didn't pretend to be something you're not. You simply cared in a world where many have forgotten how to. You listened in a world where many prefer to talk over each other. You showed up in small, meaningful ways in a world where many show up only when it benefits them. This is why they hold you close. This is why your memory lives softly inside them, like a warm light that never fully goes out. Not because you are the person they lost, but because you are the person who gave them something invaluable, a renewed belief in the possibility of love. Someone holds you close not because they are stuck in the past, but because they grew from knowing you. You helped them become a softer, braver version of themselves. You reopened a door they had closed for too long. You reminded them that their heart was not built to stay locked away forever, so if you ever wonder whether you mattered, if you ever question whether you made a difference in someone's life, if you ever think your love was too small or too quiet or too ordinary, remember this: someone out there carries a better version of themselves because of you. Someone out there loves more openly because of you. Someone out there believes in gentler connections because of you. You made love feel possible again for them. And that kind of impact never disappears. You are held close not as a memory of what was, but as a celebration of what you awakened. You exist in their heart as a reminder that love can be kind, that people can be genuine, and that even the softest presence can create the strongest change. You were not a fleeting moment in their life. You were a quiet miracle. And miracles, no matter how gentle, are never forgotten.